Imagine waking beside the fire and realizing everyone is leaving. The cap is moving. The animals moved first. Winter's coming, and your knees no longer work like theirs. You're 45 years old. In your world, that might make you ancient. So what happens now? For years, the popular answer was brutally simple. You slowed the group down, so the group left you behind. But buried bones tell a much stranger story, and the first clue is a mouth with almost no teeth. In 2005, researchers described the skull from Dmanisi, Georgia. It belonged to an early human living 1.77 million years ago. The individual had lost all but one tooth before death, not during death, years before it. The empty tooth sockets had healed and filled with bone. That means this person kept living. Chewing tough meat would have been extremely difficult. Raw fibrous plants would not have been much easier. Yet somehow, a nearly toothless human survived for years. Maybe they found soft foods alone. Maybe others pounded food for them. Maybe they shared marrow or other easy-to-eat resources. Archaeology cannot show us the exact dinner, but it leaves us with an uncomfortable question. Why keep feeding someone who could not feed themselves normally? This is where our picture of ancient old age starts breaking. First, we need to destroy one misleading number. You have probably heard ancient humans died around 30. That does not mean 30-year-olds constantly dropped dead. Life expectancy at birth is crushed by child mortality. In studied hunter-gatherer populations, many children die very young. But surviving childhood changes the mathematics completely. Research by Michael Gervin and Hillard Kaplan compared traditional hunter-gatherer groups. Their work found an adult death peak around 70 years. Other research reached a similar conclusion. Among hunter-gatherers, reaching adulthood could still mean decades ahead. So ancient groups were not necessarily collections of teenagers. Some people absolutely reached older adulthood. The real difference was rarity, and rarity may have made an old person unusually important. In 2004, anthropologists Rachel Kaspari and Sang-Hee Lee studied fossil teeth. They sorted adults into younger and older age groups. Then they compared different periods of human evolution. The result was dramatic. During the early Upper Paleolithic, older adults became far more common. The ratio of older to younger adults rose sharply. This was roughly 30,000 years ago. Around the same broad period, human populations expanded. Cultural innovation accelerated. Technology became increasingly varied. Kaspari and Lee suggested longevity may have fueled that change, because an old human is something evolution rarely produced in numbers, a memory that can walk. Imagine a group crossing the same landscape for 40 years. One person remembers a drought from childhood. They remember which spring survived. They remember where animals moved when grass disappeared. They remember the poisonous root resembling the edible one. There is no map, no weather forecast, no search engine. The oldest brain in camp may contain the only surviving copy, and losing that brain could mean repeating a fatal mistake. Can knowledge alone make a weak body valuable? Among recent hunter-gatherers, researchers have seen clues. Skills are not downloaded instantly from parents. Complex foraging can take years to master. Research on hunter-gatherer learning shows knowledge arrives from many people. Parents matter, but so do older children, unrelated adults, and elders. A 2024 PNAS review described hunter-gatherer cultural transmission as broadly distributed. That matters because ancient survival problems were complicated. Tracking is not just following footprints. Plants change with seasons. Animals behave differently after rain. Stone fractures differently depending on the material. A person can lose speed and still gain prediction. This creates a strange human trade. Young bodies carry more force. Old minds may carry more compressed experience, and humans became exceptionally good at transferring them into each other. Fire may have helped. Anthropologist Polly Weissner studied Yohansi conversations in southern Africa. Daytime talk often focused on practical matters, but conversations changed after dark. Around fires, people told stories. They discussed distant communities. They described other people. They sang, danced, and built shared identities. We cannot secretly record a Paleolithic campfire, but fire created hours when work slowed and faces gathered. An older person did not need to outrun prey to speak. The dark gave knowledge somewhere to go, and that may have changed the value of surviving. But ancient care was not just a nice theory about wise grandparents. Some skeletons look almost impossible without help. Meet Shanidar I. He was a Neanderthal found in Shanidar Cave, Iraq. He lived roughly 45,000 to 35,000 years ago. A crushing injury had damaged the left side of his head. He may have been blind in one eye. His right arm was severely withered. His right leg may have also been impaired. A healed foot fracture probably made his limp worse. Later research found serious growths inside his ear canals. They likely caused substantial hearing loss. And still, Shanidar I reached roughly 35 to 45. For a Neanderthal, that was old. Think about what that survival required. Neanderthals lived physically demanding lives. Shanidar I carried multiple long-term impairments. His injuries had healed. He remained alive long after the original trauma. The Smithsonian's Human Origins program argues he probably needed group care, not for an afternoon, potentially for years. Then there's the old man of La Chapelle. His skeleton is about 60,000 years old. He had lost several teeth long before death. Bone had regrown over parts of his gums. He also suffered degenerative joint disease. The missing teeth were so severe his food may have needed grinding. Again, we can't identify the person holding the stone, but someone in that group may have changed food for an older mouth. That's an astonishingly intimate possibility. Because care is expensive, food given to another person cannot be eaten twice. Time spent helping someone cannot be hunted twice. So why did humans keep doing it? One answer might be family. Another might be reciprocity. You feed the injured hunter who once fed your children. Another might be knowledge. Another might simply be attachment. And archaeology has a problem here. Bones preserve fractures. They do not preserve affection. A skeleton can show that someone survived. It cannot tell us whether a daughter loved him. It cannot show an argument over the last piece of food. It cannot reveal who became impatient. So we shouldn't turn prehistory into a fairy tale. Not every old person was protected. Mobile groups faced brutal limits. Famine changes decisions. Cold changes decisions. Conflict changes decisions. A person unable to move could create a genuine survival crisis. Different groups probably made different choices. Sometimes care may have been extraordinary. Sometimes it may have stopped. The honest answer is not comforting or cruel. It's human. But there's one more twist. Older people may not simply consume food. They could produce it. The grandmother hypothesis became famous through researchers including Kristen Hawkes. Hawkes studied Hadza foraging in Tanzania. Older women could gather difficult foods and provision younger relatives. The idea is evolutionary, not a photograph of every prehistoric grandmother. But it asks a powerful question. What if surviving after reproduction still helped your genes survive? A grandmother does not need another baby to affect evolution. She can help existing grandchildren eat. She can reduce pressure on her daughter. She can carry skills across generations. Modern modeling has pushed the idea further. A 2022 PNAS study examined food and information transfers from elders. Its conclusion was striking. In a high-skill foraging niche, elders can make longer lives evolutionarily valuable. Information itself can become a resource. That may be one of the strangest things humans ever did. We turned memory into calories. A remembered water source can become food. A remembered migration can become meat. A remembered mistake can become a living child. And once knowledge becomes survival, age changes meaning. An older body is no longer measured only by muscle. It's measured by what disappears when the person dies. Maybe that's why the question feels so modern. We still struggle with what old people are for. We calculate productivity, speed, output, cost. Ancient humans had fewer resources than us, yet some of them kept damaged, aging people alive for years. We can't claim every tribe honored every elder. The bones don't say that. They say something quieter. At least sometimes, someone slowed down, and the group slowed down with them. Perhaps the first retirement home was not a building. Perhaps it was a place beside the fire, a softer piece of food, a child listening to an old story, a path remembered from a winter nobody else survived. Ancient humans did not defeat aging. They discovered something far more important. A human can stop being the strongest person in the group and still become the reason the group survives.